And so, but anyway, going on to something that's different. It's a kind of like let's say the buzzword for all guys within soccer. They want to know how to get a more powerful shot, right? That's always the thing. And obviously it's more complex than saying guys will look at quads. They'll just look at their quads and they'll just go, like this. One of the first things, without having any like a background like yours, I first tell them to fix their technique, right? Because they got these flimsy ankles and they're toe poking the ball or they're not connecting with the right spot. I'm like, if you want to first, before we even go there, let's fix your technique, right? So I'll tell them that. But I'm sure you've maybe run into, or even if in your head, because of the mechanics of shooting, you have some, something that might help.
Yeah. So if I would go, the first thing I would do would say, and I'm pulling this up because there was a paper. Okay. So if I go, this is the research journal from October of 23. And the first thing that I like to do that I think that we all get stuck where it's like, okay, well, there's research again. Let's just stay with this shot put soccer comparison. There's this paper about shot putters, but I can't implement that because they're different. And I think, okay, so here's the first thing that I would do. All right, well, let's just look at this. Post-activation potentiation for Muay Thai kicking performance, okay? Well, normally people would see that and they'd be like, what is that going to do for me? I'm a soccer player. I'm a kicker. And I'm going, what is that going to do for you? What happens when you're kicking? Like if I'm kicking, I'm planting, right? I plant my lead leg. So one, I have to slam on the brakes. So my ankle's got to be stable. I've got to be super mobile. And then the other thing is we've got to be mobile through our hips so that our counter, I don't know what the counter, like for baseball, it would be like a counter movement, or for a jump, it would be, you do a counter movement to load, to lengthen. So now I lengthen my, let's say I'm kicking right-legged. I lengthen my right leg on the back swing, just like a golf ball.
Wind up.
Yeah. And then I come through. And if I can lengthen that a little bit more, I'm going to get greater energy buildup. And then I can use that more, just like a hockey swing, just like a golf swing, just like a baseball. And then if we can go and say, okay, so we've got to be stable in our ankles to slam on the brakes there. So if we use that lead leg that's planting, that's got to be mobile so that we can achieve, let's say, so when we plant that left leg, thinking through that visually, we got to slam that brake on. Our quad has to be strong. We've got to have co-contractions in the hamstrings and the quads and that lead leg to hit that. We also have to slam on through the hip. We have to be, we'll be behind that lead leg a little bit, behind the ball with our torso. We take this backswing and then we come through. So we need to lengthen that. That's where the Cossack squats that we were just demonstrating, that's going to help you be more mobile in the hips. Plus you can do things like hip 90-90 couch stretch. Those are things that you can do on the side. The lead leg planting and slamming on the brakes, that would be, to me, I'm thinking through a slow eccentric single leg squat, or single leg squat, we call it unbroken, where you get placed and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to help me create more tension and more co-contractions in my hip and in my knee for that plant leg. But then if we're looking at, in baseball, it's called exit velocity. Okay. So if we think about how fast we can hit a ball. Well, if we study Mike Trout or Vlad Guerrero Jr. and you look at their exit velocity, when they hit this counter movement here, okay, if they have a greater counter movement and then they initiate it in a certain way, a certain sequence, they hit harder. Okay. They hit the ball harder. So then the next thing that I would do is, okay, well, I would go on PubMed and I would look for specific things to do as far as kicking a ball faster, right? Specific to football, American football or football. Then I say, okay, this just pops up. Post-activation potentiation for Muay Thai kicking performance. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, they take athletes and they go through, and post-activation means they'll do an exercise that will lead to more neural recruitment or more motor unit recruitment, okay, that with the same muscles that are going to be used for kicking. So they'll do an exercise, and then in that acute setting, so in that very moment, they'll rest about 30 to 40 seconds, and then they kick something, and then they see what happens. And so what you can do is, you know, and I've got to read this paper more, but this was as soon as you asked me that, because I literally, this just came out. So I haven't gone through it in depth, but what I would do is I would think through exercise or other sports and what they do. And then I would look at it. And the post-activation, a similar thought process with post-activation could be like, if you do 2 back squats fast and then you rest 40 seconds and then you go test your vertical jump, you'll jump higher than if you didn't do those 2 back squats. That's like very well founded. Now, you don't want to get more than like more than basically like 80% of your max, because you can have some neural fatigue from that. But in this case, with the soccer instance, the single leg squats, the mobility in the ankle, focusing on trunk work. So, you know, even just doing like lunges with a plate over your head, and then when you plant here, so I would do something where I'd have like this. I do a lunge and like pause. That's going to help me with my lead leg planting. Then we do the Cossack squats. We're doing couch stretch at home to lengthen that hip. But
what is this couch stretch? I don't know this.
Couch stretch would be like, if I'm here, it's hard to demonstrate here, but I would have this.
I see what you're in. Yeah.
And I'm
with
like,
your foot up on the couch.
Yeah. All through here. You feel like you're going to blow out your hip.
Okay.
So you could do that as like that mobility work at home in the morning and in the afternoon, or morning and at night. But then to strengthen that, I would probably do, you could do something where you have a band tied to your foot and bring it through and hold the hip lock. So you're like here, you come through and hold there. Okay. I come here and there'd be a band around my foot. We do a drop a dumbbell, catch it, do a dumbbell snatch on a unilateral position, swing through, hold that position. I'm trying to think through, like right off the top of my head, like an actual, because I look at it like you've got to figure out the mobility to improve in those joints. You got to find the strength movements to improve in those joints. And then you've got to go and then you find the sport specific action to improve that activity. And that's where I think like this study here would come into play. And that's where like even like rotational work, I bet you there would be a decent amount of research around like rotational medicine ball throw, probably has a decent carryover, because you have to have that trunk stability when you're rotating as well. So when you rotate from the foot.